For an artist whose style is so utterly distinctive, so brilliantly idiosyncratic, Quentin Blake, so Quentin, is the nicest, most unassuming man you could meet. He's modest, humorous and interested, even though he's quite the most famous illustrator in Britain, the artist who did for Roald Dahl what A. Shepherd did for Kenneth Grahame and The Wind in the Willows, make the stories unimaginable without the pictures. Did Dahl realize that what he was producing was a co-creation with Blake? Yes, I think he did, said Blake, 85. And there were times when he'd take the drawings into account in the story. When I did the drawings for the BFG, I gave him an apron, like Dahl said, but when he looked at it flapping around, he said, "This won't do," and rewrote it. The drawings for the Dahl books feature in the auction of 150 pieces of Blake's work at Christie's tomorrow, with more until Thursday. "They'll be the most sought after," said Blake, happily. "There's a terrific, malevolent depiction of Mrs. Twit and another of Charlie, his granddad and Willy Wonka. The conceit is that they're sitting for a portrait, and lots of the BFG and some charming Matildas." Quentin Blake is selling illustrations from his personal collection. One interesting picture is for an episode of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory which Dahl later dropped, depicting a fudge mine. This was the pre-Oompa Loompa version of the story. I'm rather hoping he will publish the entire episode as an interesting addendum to the story. The estimated prices range from £10,000 to £15,000 for some of the Dahl pictures, to £1,200 to £1,800 for the subversive illustrations he did for the rediscovered Beatrix Potter HES, a fan story, Kitty and Boots. Some are going for a few hundred. A snip, if you ask me. The proceeds of the sale will be going to 3 charities, including the House of Illustration in King's Cross that Blake helped establish and Roald Dahl's marvelous children's charity I Don't Get the Money, so there's no income tax. The auction is entitled 40 Years of Alternative Versions. Dragon Reading to a Group of Children, Christie's Images Limited, 2018. Quentin Blake. What this refers to are the accumulated different versions of his pictures that Blake has produced throughout his career. "I've always produced alternative versions. The preliminary ones go into a portfolio with the final one. Though looking at these, if I may say so, I can't quite see what was wrong with them. With one or two, I can't think what made me do them again. I might do one, and think the expression might be better. And in some cases, like his pictures of mothers and babies for maternity units at Angers Maternity Hospital in France and Cambridge, he simply had lots to spare." What Blake has helped do, apart from spreading happiness through exuberant pictures, is change the perception of illustration as a second-rate art, playing second fiddle to fine arts in the visual culture. "It's actually something the English are rather good at," he muses. Critics often dismissed his predecessors, people such as Edward Ardizone and Edward Borden, as mere jobbing artists, a bit vulgarly functional, because they produced art with a purpose, book illustrations primarily but also advertisements, menu designs and wallpaper. Blake snorts when I mention this view. Does he think HES put it to rest? I try, he says. I keep going on about it. He himself met both Ardizone. He looked rather the patriarch with his beard, and Borden a very good sense of humor, and admires both, though perhaps is Cruikshank, Dickens' illustrator, who he holds in most regard. July 12 to August 25, Lazink Gallery, lazink.com, July 13, 2018 to July 14, 2019, tatemoderntape.org.uk, July 4 to October 7, regentsparkfreeze.com, July 4 to August 18, Listen Gallery, lisongalery.com, July 13, 2018 to January 6, 2019, Natural History Museum, nhm.act.uk, July 12 to August 25, Lazink Gallery, lazink.com, July 13, 2018 to July 14, 2019, tatemoderntape.org.uk, July 4 to October 7, regentsparkfreeze.com, July 4 to August 18, Listen Gallery, lisongalery.com, July 13, 2018 to January 6, 2019, Natural History Museum, nhm.act.uk. He himself has produced lots of functional art. We sit on a sofa upholstered in fabric covered in Blake parrots. We have cake from Blake plates, and his assistant brings out a collection of Blake wallpaper. Nearby there's a box of greetings cards with his cheerful designs. He has also done drawings of Grand London restaurants for Laurent Perrier. I don't do this often, he says, but I was tempted by the champagne. Indeed, as he says, the greatest artists also produced functional art. Boucher, for instance, did lots of tapestry designs. It's we who are traditional, he says. The others, people who say fine art is something apart, are the novelty. Sir Quentin Blake, see, art helped me get over selling Coastal Cottage. Blake may be best known for his illustrations for children's books, but he has lots of bottom, intellectually. He never went to art school, though he always knew that drawing was what he wanted to do. Instead he read English at Downing College, Cambridge, because at the time the English department was presided over by F.R. Leavis, the legendary critic. This grounding means he is aware of what he does as illustrator, viz., doing the work of interpreting characters for the reader. However he depicts a character, the reader will probably take up his cue, though if he has a fault, it's that helps Too Nice to Do Evil really well. I used to do modern writers in the 50s and 60s, book jackets mostly, people like Kingsley Amis, he says. And on the perennially vexatious question of why grown-up books don't have pictures anymore, he observes, they have a quality of interiority and introspection about them. Put bluntly, not much happens in most contemporary novels. The BFG showing how he flaps his ears. Christie's Images Limited 2018. Quentin Blake. Older literature isn't quite so solipsistic. One new project was to illustrate John Ruskin's fairy story, The King of the Golden River, which has lots of detail, mountains, storms, evil brothers. One of his most enjoyable relationships has been with the Folio Society, a publisher with an exceptional record for illustration. Some of his poignant drawings for Don Quixote are in this sale, as well as for Apuleius Golden Ass, Complete Filth, incidentally, but like the river in Ruskin's story, everything he touches turns into a kind of gold. Quentin Blake, a retrospective is at Christie's, SW1Christie's.com on July 11th.